Okay, good afternoon, everybody. I appreciate you being here. The injury report really hasn't changed from a week ago, so it's just exactly the same. And for the most part, we've been very healthy, and hopefully we can continue to do so. Just working hard on our preparation this week. You know, this is we'll come in Sunday and take care of all our business and end the previous game, and then move on to the next. And we're playing a very, very good football team in Central Florida. Coach O'Leary's done a great job of that football program. And I think that, you know, he deserves a lot of credit. He's a very, very good football coach. Very well-coached football team. A year ago, as you well know, they were 12-1. They beat Baylor in the Fiesta Bowl. And so he's really done a great job of building that program to a very, very high level. Very talented team. And, you know, it's our, you know, a very, very close game with Penn State. It's, you know, our challenge, obviously, to play our best football game. And we're going to work very hard to do that.
Gary, they played two quarterbacks in that game. How does that mean to prep for them?
Well, I understand that Holman is the projected starter. He played really well in the second half. I mean, he threw for a couple hundred yards. I think he had 3 plays for almost 150 yards. Some big plays downfield, athletic, has good release. Very, very impressed with him. And you know, the running back's going to be back, I believe, too. The receivers are playing well, making some plays downfield, some big plays, and they got a very excellent scheme, you know, on offense too. So, you know, I think that we always have to prepare for both, but you know, Holman probably is I think he's going to start, and we'll see where that goes. And obviously, you know, we expect him to start. No, we're just aware of them. You know, we evaluated them. You know, we evaluate hundreds of quarterbacks, but no, he's a very, very good athlete, and very, very impressed. So I don't really, you know, we see him in high school a little bit, but you know, we saw him play half of football here. So I think we certainly look at what we see now as compared to what he was in high school. Although we know he's a very talented player. Well, you know, we throw the ball downfield a lot, you know, and I think that's kind of just a philosophy, a little bit different now, you know, with Josh Henson and you know what we do, kind of philosophy-wise, we've changed a little bit. We just attack more to the deep part of the field, and obviously when you make more plays there, you know, there's a lot of big plays you can make, and I think it just stretches the defense. I think it stretches a little bit. I think it opens up things that shorter throws at times. You know, Matty does for the most. You know, he throws. You know, I think you have to be very gifted to be able to make those kind of throws, and he is. He makes a lot of those throws, and I've been around a lot of good quarterbacks that you know that really struggle with the balls 30, 40 yards downfield. But he's done pretty well. You know, and Matty has a tendency to because he likes to look downfield for him, and you know, there's that time when you want to come off of it and throw to the underneath coverage open player, and that's just where he'll get better and better. You know, down and distance, field position, all those things. You know how things are going, when to take the throw, and when to let's get a completion because we need some continuity, or you know, there's a lot of things that I call that good quarterbacking, and he gets it better every week, and he'll continue. Again, I think he's only had 6 starts now. So he'll continue to get better, and that process will go on the rest of this season and you know the remainder part of his career.
Is that the biggest area for growth he has? Is that decision making? You know, you force the ball to Sean, and then you know, overthrow.
Well, it's not going to be. There's nothing perfection. Perfection doesn't exist in football. Offensively, defensively, it doesn't exist. You can always go in any game we played and say he missed this throw, and he missed this throw, and he missed this throw. You look at the big picture, big plays, third down conversions. You look at all those things, and so he's going to make some mistakes. You know, he only does 6 starts. It's going to happen. And knock on wood, they've been very few, you know, since he's been a starter. But all those things he's going to learn about. He's going to learn about just the strategy of and the momentum of the game and kind of, you know, all those things are factors that will help make him, and it's just a work in progress all the time. But you know, he's going in the right direction.
Are you guys maybe surprised
No, really, honestly, he kind of played his role a year ago. I think all three of those guys did. They played their roles. They had experienced players that had played more in front of them. And I think they kind of played their role, and they probably played sometimes 25, 30, 35, 40 snaps each in those games. But it doesn't surprise me. He's a very good athlete. He's very explosive. He's got great hands. He is a great competitor. And what was great on that, and I told our team, we remember the bowl game we lost to Iowa, and it wasn't the interception that created all that problem in that game. It was because we didn't tackle the guy. He returned it. And so, I was really pleased how we covered on that as an offense, and for him to rake through just like he sees our defensive players, and maybe because it happens so many times to him in practice, having defensive players swatting at him, he certainly he had his chance to swat. And he raked and tomahawked right through the ball. It came out, and I think Jimmy Hunt got it. So huge play. One of those things. There's 4 or 5 plays in a game. You like to say, here's the moment. Well, that's one of those plays. That there was a huge momentum gain back to us. Reminds me a little bit of Chase Daniel who threw an interception, I think, in the Cotton Bowl, and then I think he knocked the ball out. I think he'll create the turnover. So. But him making big-time catches and throwing the ball, and being able to accelerate like he did on that touchdown run, and those things, he's very capable of doing that. He's consistently capable of doing that, and so it's not a surprise. I think those other 2 guys, Darius is doing an excellent job, and Jimmy too. And what we have to do, we have to incorporate some of our young. Sean Calkin got involved more with our passing game, which is good to see that. Made some plays. We'll get him more involved. But it's also what's going to be important is that we have to play some of the younger receivers. We got to get them on the field, and we can't. Playing those guys 70 plays a game, it gets tough. They need a rest. Also, the type of offense we have. So. And I'm talking to myself because I'm the one that that kind of has to loosen the reins here a little bit. But they're talented young kids, and we're going to have to get them in a little bit.
What do you see as? Do you have a goal in mind or a target for how you want to use the tight end? You only had 9 total catches last year. You scored a little bit more early against Toledo. Is that a goal to use those guys a little bit more?
Yeah, I think so. And every year it changes depending on maturity and growth and how guys have improved. And he went and made some really good catches. We use him in the running game, and so that's adds a different variety to our offense. It allows us to do different things. So we certainly plan on using him. Yeah, a couple of them. It's the ability to fill gaps. Have gap in our defense. We have a gap defense, and every player is responsible for a gap. And if a linebacker or a defensive lineman goes through the wrong gap, that leaves another gap open. Are you blitzing? Are you in man coverage? Or are your run supports out all over the place rather than sitting in zone, being able to come on down? And they hit on a couple plays and very similar calls and. That's when your safeties have got to make the plays, and you want the 16-yard gain and not the 45-yard gain. So we've got to improve on that. And I think we're very capable. The guys in the back end are certainly played a year ago, and they're very capable of doing that. And that's just something we have to improve on. And you like to say it's all fixed now, but there's nothing. We can become a lot better football team on both sides of football. A lot better. We got a long ways to go to reach the potential of this team. He just got the it factor for it. He gets out in space. He's a great space runner. I used that as an example in our team meeting yesterday afternoon or yesterday evening. Where we get the ball and it's punted to him at the 25-yard line, and the offense gets the ball, I think, on the 46-yard line, plus 46. Instantly, you're a first down away or two of being a field goal range, and that's the greatness of the kicking game and what it can do if you got a guy like him. And I think the players around him understand they just got to get a few blocks here or there. But he's just good in space. He feels people. He senses the right things to do, and you don't coach that. I'd like to say, I'm sure Coach Ford or coaches would say that it has a lot to do with him. But really, all kidding aside, he's just very talented at that, and it's the huge difference you can get with big plays in the kicking game.
Garrett Clark's screen got a little bit more action on Saturday, and what you see out of him and guy who is in his fourth or fifth year here, starting to get a little bit
Yeah, Clarence has done a real good job, and some of those things in the depth chart. If we look at two guys, they're very close, and if one plays a little bit better, we'll move him up. But they're both going to play. But he's worked real hard. He's one of those guys that in the program, he just continuously gives a great effort, and some guys mature quicker than others, and he's one of those guys that just persevered and kept battling. We had some good linebackers ahead of him a year ago, and he runs very, very well, and he's doing a lot of good things.
Coach, watching the film, just watching the game, it seemed like there was some missed tackles in the secondary, a lot of open fields, so maybe that's why they're a little more visible. But was that a concern, the missed tackles, especially the secondary?
Well, it's missed tackles anywhere, and anytime you have missed tackles, that's not good. And so that's fundamental work, those things that can be fixed. But there's no question about that. You want to be a very, very good tackling football team. And so what you do is you go back to the drawing board, and, every week there are things to improve, to get better. What you really don't want to do is you don't want to see the same things happen week after week. And, we had a couple big plays in the run, or one the week before. And so, again, like I started out when I said that at the beginning, that those are things that you got to improve on. But you really, tackling is so important. And you don't think of it as being that important until you see some missed tackles and see 8-yard gains becomes a 21-yard gain. And so those are things we just got to work real hard at.
Coach, any update on Morgan Stewart and with that? What can he bring to this offense?
Well, I'll wait. We'll talk about when he gets back, what he can bring to the offense. But we really want him back, obviously. Experienced player from a year ago. He's got great ability, one of the fastest players on the team. Weighs 210 pounds, and so he the biggest back that we have, and so hopefully we'll get him back here next couple of weeks. So right now he'll be out this week, and he's working hard. He's getting better. He really is. But there's a process, and like I always handle everything here. The medical staff does their thing, and they just tell me if a guy can play, he can't play, and that's how we do it. And we got great people around him, and he's got a great work ethic, and he's excited about getting back.
Here you mentioned getting some different receivers more involved. It seems like that Lawrence Lee has gotten the most snaps out of those younger players, younger freshman receivers. What has he shown you guys to earn that trust with playing time so far?
Well, we have him inside, helping us inside a little bit, and the other, Brown's on the outside, and does a real good job also out there. But I just think, again, both those guys I think are working real hard, and it's just in the arena it's a little bit different. Obviously being in high school, and I think we can get them involved more, and Jamon more, Leftwich more, and again that's something that it's going to be important because it's going to keep our starters fresher, and these also guys are capable, and hopefully they'll do a good job. Well, what's happened is a little bit, again, with the depth that running back, experienced depth. I just think that Marcus we didn't use a wide receiver very often, and again, that's just something that we have to wait and see if Morgan gets back, and kind of where that whole thing unfolds. I can't tell you right now. I can't look at a crystal ball, but I do know if we get Morgan back and he's healthy, then and we stay healthy with those two guys, and we'll use Murph also. He'll run the football, but we'll also use him in the perimeter as a receiver. So it's just something that we have to kind of wait and see what happens.
Coach, what did the season do that
The question is Shane Ray and Marcus Gold being such dominant players. They were dominant players a year ago. I had some NFL scouts. I've said this before too. I had some NFL scouts come in and say, those two guys are pretty good, but the two behind them, they might be better. And don't tell Coney and Michael I said that. I know you guys would never say that. I'll get a text or two tonight probably. But they're explosive guys, man. They come off the corner and they create a lot of problems. And the quarterback, all quarterbacks when they get great protection are pretty good. Quarterbacks that have pressure on them, it just changes the whole position. And hopefully we'll continue. We got a couple young guys behind them competing, and that's going to help us too because the better those young guys get, kind of like at the wide receiver, the more experience they get. We can give the two starters a blow, but they're impact players, and they have great motors and they play hard, and it's just fortunate to lose the 2 we lost a year ago, and all of a sudden have 2 guys of that magnitude. And that's how great our depth was a year ago at that position. We're very, very fortunate.
They took 2 pretty big routes to Missouri. Shane and Marcus coming out of high school and stayed through junior college. But Shane, that January before signing day, when he visited Notre Dame late, do you remember the advice you guys gave him when he was thinking about taking that visit?
Yeah, I remember being in his house saying, "Don't go to Notre Dame." So that was real simple. Andy and Hill and I were with his mom and Shane in his house. I remember sitting in his living room, just telling him that, why we thought Mizzou was the best place for him. And I think deep down he always wanted to go to Mizzou. Obviously Notre Dame's a great place too, but I think he made a great decision.
You guys excited for the SEC Network debut?
Yeah, honestly, I hadn't thought about it. And no disrespect, I mean, it's going to be, they're going to do, as you well know, that network will be, when it's all said and done, it'll be the best because that's how they do things. Yeah, I guess we are. I mean, I'm just excited to be a part of that. I think the next week's game also is on SEC Network. I just found out. So yeah, we're excited about getting that going, and it's an 11 o'clock game. I think our players and coaches like to get up and play. So if they start games at 8 o'clock, I'd be fine with that too. So.
You view this Central Florida team as different than other non-conference teams just because of their track record and their use of playing?
No, I think again, my thing is, on Sundays I talk to the team about their opponent, just but briefly about them, because and you heard me say this, but it's true. It's all about how we play. We respect who we're playing, and I think our players have great respect. And if you're a great competitor, and you respect everybody, and then what you do is you focus on playing your best game. And that's really our challenge right now, because that's some younger players, and as units, all the guys playing their best all the time. Doesn't mean you're perfect, but shoot, they as I mentioned before, they know how to win. They won at a high level, and he's done a great job there. So this is a really good football team we're playing, and this is going to be a great challenge for us.
Coach, you mentioned motors from Marcus Golden and Shane Ray. An instance where I think it was their first long touchdown, those 40 yards, and Marcus covers that full ground, gets him in the end zone there. What does that say?
Yeah, his pursuit, that says a lot about him, doesn't it? I mean, you just see him just kind of, I saw it on film and went back and looked at it and said, how did he get there? And I went back and replayed it, and just to see his, just a never give up attitude. I mean, that's a captain, that's leadership, that's competitiveness, and that stuff has huge influence on the rest of your team. I mean, to see a player play like that. So we certainly pointed that out.
Those guys complement each other pretty well too. Shane's got elite speed, and I always hear people talk about Marcus's power, especially in games and things like that. So it's a nice combination.
Yeah, Shane's a little bit smaller, obviously, and he's just got remarkable speed off the corner. He creates a lot of problems that way. Marcus has great speed too, but he's just a bigger athlete, and kind of in between Shane and Coney, I guess, so somewhere in between Michael and Coney, somewhere in between that. But very, very strong competitor. But they, every player's kind of unique in what they do. But what they both are, they're both great competitors, and their motors go, and they flat get after it. And it's certainly great to have guys like that on your defense. You talk about with their clap and that snap, yeah. Well, they had done that on film. I think you study that a little bit. The starter got hurt, and it's very unfortunate. He had knee surgery. I think he's having it this week. I heard about that today, and that's just prayers to that kid. And it's just very difficult programs, and you lose your starting quarterback. But we get a tendency on that, and I think they got a timing of it. I think all good defensive linemen kind of, if they can get any rhythm with the snap at all, and trust me, everybody watches Matty. Everybody watches him. They watch the center's head. They watch the right guard. The defensive people do anything they can to get off on that ball. And in offense, you try to protect that in terms of having some inconsistencies on your snapping process. So, but they got it down pretty good, and that's certainly is an advantage if you can do that.
As far as split carries between Rose and Marcus, is there a target you want to win the games, or is it just the rest on him?
Coach Jones has been doing this for a while. He's a great coach. He's done a great job here with our running backs. And he kind of gets a feel for guys, how they're going. And so he kind of he might lean on one because one might be running a little bit better. I don't know how he does it, but I trust him. But we're thinking about, getting those guys equal number of reps for the most part. Now, don't text me after the game and say this guy got 4 more. But we're aware of how many reps they're in during the game. We're aware of it the whole time, and how many plays. And for example, if you got to keep them fresh too, Murph fresh. So if you want to use them at wide receiver and they both get 40 snaps in an 80-play game, you want to get 15, maybe 10 or 15 snaps with him at wide receiver, but he's got to be fresh when he goes in. And one reason why I think we've been a reasonably good running football team the past few years is because we try to keep those guys fresh. They're not as big as some of the backs, but they got great quickness and speed and explosiveness, and we try to make sure that they are fresh when they're in there. So you're getting their top speed and quickness all the time. So right now with Morgan out, we're getting Ish involved a little bit again. Same way with receivers. We got to get him out there, trust him with the football, and again, that's that's me, to do that. So that'll make us better.
Coach, you have the experience going down to UCF a couple of years ago. How much can you take away from the game that happened 2 years ago?
Well, I just think our players have great respect for him. I think that, it was a very hot day down there, on that field turf. And that was a real close football game. We battled, had some injuries going in, had some injuries coming out. So, that's a couple of years ago. Teams are a lot different. We got, a good portion of our players aren't playing anymore, and same way with them. I just, we just have great respect for them. They're similar. I think that, again, I think they're similar. They run the same offense. And, you got to be prepared for both. We'll just see what happens.
You notice any more one-on-one blocking opportunities on the outside of Shane Ray and Marcus, how well they play?
Well, I think that helps a little bit. I noticed last week they try to keep a back end to kind of help with the tackles and chipping on the guy. You see it in the NFL all the time. We do it. We've done it occasionally for some really great players. So I think people will try to do different things. But it's very difficult to double team both sides. So if you got 2 really good impact players and you're playing well up front, and we have a nickel or a pass rush group of guys that we send in there and competing in there, and get Harold Brantley in the middle, then one of the other tackles are in there also. So I think for the most part, we try to get a chance to free those guys up best we can, and the better they all play, certainly the better. The more difficult it is to defend. And again, I think we can get a lot better, on defense and offense. I mean, you go back and look at the game, there's just a lot. I mean, there's a lot of things we can do to improve, and that's the good news.
Coach, you get to see Justin Brennan, DJ Gaines?
Yeah, I did. I saw Justin a little bit Thursday night, and that was great seeing him out there. They're really proud of him, and and EJ too. So I was real excited about both those guys. They're great kids, and neat to see them have success. Good. Okay, thank you.